Hi, and welcome to part 2 of the zombie game tutorial. This video will be focused on setting up the play area using what will be our final package for this demo called ProBuilder. And if you're just joining now, make sure to watch the first part called third person movement on my channel if you want to set up your play movement and player camera. Or you can also just download the Unity project from the GitHub link in the description below. That'll give you the base project that we're working on from here in this intro. And in case you missed it, if you want to download the ProBuilder package yourself, go to the Window tab at the top, scroll down to Package Manager, and in this Package Manager window, make sure to sort by Unity Registry and find ProBuilder. Once imported, we can create our new plane by clicking on the plus symbol under the Hierarchy tab and clicking ProBuilder and then Plane. Press the Open ProBuilder button in the inspector so we can open up the ProBuilder tab, and just make sure to select the Faces button at the top of the scene view. One thing to note, directly under the Scene tab, under the Toggle Tool Handle position, make sure this is set to Center. Now we can start building the play area. If you double click one of the faces on the plane, you can have them all selected at once. Then we can just use Unity's built-in Scale tool on the left side that lets us grow the mesh to something pretty big that you can play in. My plane ended up scaling up to about 200 units, which you can see in the inspector. From here, go ahead and hold Control while selecting a checkerboard pattern of faces. We can navigate to the Vertex Color option in the ProBuilder tab to change the color of these squares. Pick something nice that contrasts well with the default white color. As you can see, we do have a nice contrast going on the floor, but we're still getting a lot of glare from the light. It's making it hard to see the floor, but we can remedy this pretty easily when we look at our next step. Now we're going to create a barrier around our map. And we can do this by switching to the Edge Selection tool at the top of the scene view and control selecting the edges around our plane. Once you have all the edges selected, head to the ProBuilder tab and click Extrude Edges. This will automatically add some edges above the one you've selected, and you can even raise them up to create this barrier. Now this works pretty well to sell the space we have available to play in, but there's still more we can add to make the scene more interesting. Let's go ahead and combine the Face Selection tool with the Extrude tool to create interesting pathways and buildings. Switch to the Face Selection tool at the top of the scene view and control select some faces. Keep in mind these will turn into buildings, so the squares that you're selecting will actually act as barriers for the player. Once you've selected all the faces you want, click the Extrude Faces option in the ProBuilder tab and raise them up. Now let's go ahead and add another layer of variation to this plane by creating subdivisions. We can select some more faces and subdivide them into smaller faces. Once you have some faces selected, head to the ProBuilder tab and click on Subdivide Faces. This will create even smaller squares on top of the squares that you've selected. And like we did before, select from those faces what you wish to extrude upwards. Again, these are essentially barriers that the player will have to navigate, so keep that in mind when selecting the faces. You already know it's coming. Once selected, click on Extrude Faces in the ProBuilder tab. Hey, and that's great. Now we got a lot more variation in our scene. We got some buildings to kind of create something interesting for the eye, but also something interesting for the brain. Right now you have to think about where you're going to go and think about the different barriers, and you've played a map before. But I'm going to repeat the last step of subdivision and extruding to create one more layer of just interestingness to the map. These little alleys seem a little empty, they seem a little lonely, so I figure why not just add some taller buildings to them? I think that'll look nice. The taller buildings really do add some nice depth to the scene, and you can really imagine this being kind of like a city map or something. And finally, to bring this full circle, we're going to select the faces on these buildings and use the Vertex Color option to add some more color to the scene. Not only does this lighten the scene, but the colors act as a point of reference for the player to use. And bam, our map is done. Thanks again for watching. I hope you find this tutorial useful. These tools are super easy to use once you dive into them, and I think this is the funner part of game development. I think making maps is like sort of like a game unto itself. If you enjoyed the tutorial or you have questions, feel free to drop them in the comment section below. Like and subscribe, gamers.